सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. We were learning Guru Paduka Stotram. 2 verses we completed. 3 we completed. Okay. This has gone into rebooting. So if you have in your phone or something, then you can follow from there. It is put up on the Google Drive, no? So if you have it on your phone, open it up in your phone and then you can follow. First 3 verses we will chant together. Ananta samsara samudratara naukayitabhyam guru bhaktidabhyam vairagya samrajyada pujanabhyam namo namah shri guru padukabhyam namo namah shri guru padukabhyam kavitvavarashini shakarabhyam दौर्भाग्यदावाम्बुदमालिकाभ्यां दूरीकृतानम्रविपत्ततिभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां नताययो श्रीपतितां समीयुः कदाचिदप्याशु दरिद्रवर्याः मूकाश्च वाचस्पतितां हिताभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम्. On the fourth one, repeat. नालीकनिकाशपदाहृताभ्याम् नानाविमोहादिनिवारिकाभ्याम् नमज्जनाभीष्टततिप्रदाभ्याम् नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम् नृपालिमौलिव्रजरत्नकान्ति सरिद्विराजच्छशकन्यकाभ्याम् नृपत्वदाभ्यां नतलोकपङ्क्तेः नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम् पापान्धकारार्कपरम्पराभ्याम् तापत्रयाहीन्द्रखगेश्वराभ्याम् जाड्याब्धिसंशोषणवाडवाभ्याम् नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम् So the fourth verse says that these padukas remove the host of ignorant desires and remove all the delusions accompanying that. Nana vimohadi nivarikabhyam. Namajjana abhishta pradabhyam. Those who surrender, those who are bowing down to of such people, whatever is the best, the Padukas help them to achieve that. Nirpali Mauli Vrajaratna Kanti. If in the crown of the king there are many jewels, Nirpali Mauli Vrajaratna Kanti. They look like Sarid Virajat Jashakanya Kabhyam. You know, in the ocean, when there are mermaids, these mermaids will shine. In that way, like this, on the crown of the kings, these jewels which are shining, they create this dazzling light. So the Padukas are like that. They are shining, brilliant they are. Nripatvadabhyam nataloka pankte. And those who surrender, they are even given the kingship. They become prosperous in this world as well as in the other world. Nripatvadabhyam nataloka pankte. Namo namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Papandhakararka paramparabhyam. Papa, sin, andhakara, ignorance, and all the results of that. Paramparabhyam. Padukas destroy that. Tapatraya ahindra khageshwarabhyam. If the three types of afflictions, the afflictions which come to us from the cosmic forces, from the beings around us, and from within, if they are like the snakes, the Padukas are like the Garuda. Tapatraya ahindra khageshwarabhyam. So they destroy those three tapas. Jadyabde samshoshana vadavabhyam. They dry up this ocean of tamoguna, jadata, inertness. Namo namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Okay, so we have heard about Atma and Anatma. The questions that were asked, Kosavan Atma, Paramakka Atma, Tayor Viveka Katham Etad Uchchatam. So what is Anatma? We already saw. So what is included in this Anatma? Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, Karan Sharir. Then only Sushupti Avastha. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti is where these three egos. What are the egos of these three states? Vishwa, Tejas and Prajna. Now who is this ego? That ego is nothing but consciousness only identified with the BMI. So in this chapter, what is the nature of the Atma and what is the difference between the Atma and Anatma? Tayor Viveka Katham, that is being covered. So after having described what is the Anatma, now what is the objective of describing what is the Anatma? The objective of describing what is Anatma is to know what is the Atma and negate and reject what is the Anatma, because we have falsely got identified with that. So not knowing our own true nature, that supreme consciousness, when it is identified with one equipment, it becomes the Jivatma. Paramatma appears as the Jivatma, but that Jivatma is only a false superimposition. This body, mind, intellect, or Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, all these three, these are only equipment and projections at this level which is real to us. Like in the dream appears very real, but when a person wakes up, then the whole dream disappears. The dream was only a projection. Same way, this body, mind, intellect, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharir, they are a projection. Now, not knowing this fact that my nature is pure consciousness, that infinite reality identifies with one equipment, and that which is the Paramatma becomes the Jivatma. So if you see here, this non-apprehension of this pure consciousness leads us to this misapprehension. So this misapprehension is because of identification with the BMI, with the three bodies. So how they've given a chart here on page 2, that Paramatma is the pure consciousness, the true I. Now true I is capital I, and that capital I, capital self with capital S, they indicate the infinite pure consciousness. When that gets identified with one equipment, it appears to be finite. Like the sun which is up there is huge. When it reflects in one pot of water, the reflection becomes so small. Can actually the pot of water capture the sun? It's not possible at all. In the same way, it is not possible that the Paramatma has become this Jivatma. So there is no question of Jivatma merging back with Paramatma. This, from Advaita standpoint, we have to understand it is a false identification. That false identification has to go. That's all. The Jivatma, the Paramatma has not become the Jivatma. The Paramatma is appearing as the Jivatma. That's a very big difference. Please remember. If the infinite has become finite, the finite cannot become infinite. It is not possible. First of all, infinite cannot become anything. Otherwise, it will not remain infinite. So the idea here is this, that this infinite pure consciousness identifying with one equipment, this true I becomes false I. So when we write I with a small letter, that means the ego, the Jivatma. When it is written with capital, it means the Paramatma. So the higher self and the lower self. Now why is this, it is called as higher self? Because that's the true nature of ours, which is of the nature of Sat, Chit, Anand. That will be explained further. But what is the nature of this Jivatma? The Jivatma is identified, consciousness identified with this ego. So I am tall, I am dark, I am young, I am thin, I am happy, I am sad, I am successful, I am failure. All those thoughts of identification with the Upadhi, they are the ego, they are the Jivatma. In that, what is common? I is common. I am young, I am happy, I am tall, I am dark, I am thin. In that, what is common? I. As of now, that I is identified with the equipment. So this I is small, meaning referring to one individual. But actually, who is that I? Paramatma only. Like the sun is big, huge. Reflection is small. But what is that reflection actually? The sun only. But identified with one equipment. So this identification in Vedanta is called as Tadatmya. And so this lower self or the false I is called as the Jivatma, and the true I is called as Paramatma. And this Paramatma identifying with the Upadhi is what goes through all these troubles of the Upadhi. Like the example given here is the example given here? I don't remember whether it's here or not now. The crystal by itself is colorless. But if a blue cloth is brought next to it, then that crystal will appear as though it has got blue color. Where did that blue color come from? That is the cloth. The blue color belongs to the cloth. By itself, the crystal is colorless. In the same way, by itself, Paramatma is infinite, pure consciousness. No birth, no death, no change, no emotions, no thoughts, nothing. What is the nature of that? Satchidanand. But identified with one upadhi, then it goes through everything. So identified with the body, now it has a birth, now it goes through 6 modifications, all that we saw with the, sthula sharira. You remember 6 modifications? It is born, asti, jayate, vardhate, it grows, viparinamate, it changes, apakshiyate, it decays, becomes old, and then finally vinashati, dies. Now, who is going through these 6? These are conditions of the body, but by itself, this body, mind, intellect cannot function. They have to be enlivened by pure consciousness. But that consciousness, when it gets identified with the BMI, this small ego, this small I arises. That big I becomes a small I. So this example is given of the fire and iron ball. So what are the qualities of this iron ball? This iron ball is round, it is cold, and it is dark. So 3 properties. What are they? Cold, round, and dark. That's the property of iron ball. What are the properties of fire? It is bright, it is hot, it is formless. Now both these, when they are brought together, iron ball is put in fire for a long time, what will happen? This fire, this iron ball, which is cold, will become hot, which is round, will remain round, but fire which is formless appears now as though having a form, and which was dark now has become bright. So the fire which is formless now appears as though has the form of the iron ball, and the iron ball which is cold and dark as though it's become now bright and hot. This is called anyonya adhyasa, mutual superimposition. So in the case of this body, mind, intellect, what happens? The BMI are inert and finite, and consciousness is infinite and sentient, right? Now if both these come together, this BMI appears sentient and consciousness appears finite. This is called mutual superimposition. Actually, this has not happened. In what sense? See, it is not that fire has actually become round and the iron ball has actually become bright. If you remove this association, it will again come back to original thing. If this BMI and consciousness as though get separated, again BMI will become jada, consciousness will become infinite. It's only when they come close to each other, when they are as though in connection with each other, then this, so that is called identification, tadatmya. So now mixture has happened. Atma and Anatma have got mixed. But this mixture is not real mixture. Please remember, mixture is only a superimposition. Rope and the snake. If you understand that example, the rope is inert, but the snake is sentient. Snake appears moving. The rope is actually inert, lying there. But now there is a superimposition. The form of the rope is taken up by the snake, and the life or the sentiency of the snake as though is taken up by the rope. Limited example, but just to understand how the superimposition is. So this mixture is not real mixture. This mixture is superimposition. And that's why through proper vivek, one can discriminate and separate it. Because this mixture has happened where? This mixture has happened in the buddhi, in our intellect, where I think of myself as Mr. So and so. My self-esteem is in my mind and intellect. There the mixture has happened. So there, if I do proper Atma Anatma Vivek, that I am not this body, mind, intellect. Today I think I am this BMI, so destiny of BMI is my destiny. What is the practical application of this? What we have studied earlier, no? With each kosha and with each sharira, we saw that if I understand that this is the nature of the sharira, this is not mine, then I don't suffer with it or get excited with it. You know, if the body puts on weight, who has put on weight? Body has put on the weight. What have I got to do with it? But our self-esteem goes up and down with that. You know, I've just put on too much of weight. You know, nowadays, no exercise only. Now the rainy season has come. Impossible to go out and work. I think another 4-5 kilos more I will put on. So sad. One feels low. And then one starts going to the gym and some new diet and keto diet and this and that, something one does. I have lost 10 kilos. I feel so good about myself. Wow. Why is the body's destiny connected to my self-esteem? That is body. Whatever has to be done to take care of it, take care of it. But that is the tadatma. That is called identification. Same way with the mind, same way with the intellect. The achievements or the failures, they all belong to the mind and the intellect. They don't belong to I. So that Atma Anatma Vivek has to be done to separate this false identification. Why have I got so identified with this? Just like we get identified with some new equipment that we buy. Same way we got identified with this BMI. So now you see what is this Atma Anatma Vivek that is to be done. Page number 3. In Tattva Bodh, the logic is given. Okay. Now please remember, this is logic, which helps us to gain a proper conviction. Then the application has to happen in our life, where I have to actually detach. Madiyam Shariram, Madiya Pranaha, Madiyam Manascha, Madiya Buddhihi, Madiyam Ajnanamiti, Svenaiva Jnayate, Tadyatha Madiyatvena, Jnatam Kataka Kundala, Grahadikam, Swasmad Bhinnam, Tatha Panchakoshadikam, Swasmad Bhinnam, Madiyatvena Jnatam, Atmana Bhavati. One simple point is, am I different from what I have or am I what I have? Different or same? Anybody has doubts? Maybe I'm one with what I have. You have a computer, you have a car, you have a phone, you have a house, you have clothes, you have spectacles. Are you what you have or what are you different from what you have? We are completely different, right? So I is different from mine. But today this I and my have become mixed. First of all, simple point to know is Atma means I. See, the word Atma means I, Aham. Otherwise, many people have what all notions about Atma. Bhutatma, Pretatma, Duratma, Dushtatma. Atma means I, and that I is Satchit Anand, full stop. That is the true meaning of the word Atma, Aham. And that Aham is being felt by each and every one of us even right now. Aham, Aham, I am, I am, I am. Only thing is that after that I am, we start adding every other adjective. That is the problem. That has to be separated because those are not me. That is only what I have. Like what is said here, Madiyam Shariram. We say my body. My body, like when we say, I is different from my, just now we spoke. When we say my watch, I am different from the watch. Same way, my body, I am different from this body. My pranas, 5 pranas. Why do we say I am different from the body? Because we are seeing the growth of the body. The logic is very simple. The logic is seer is different from the seen. So I am different from this body. Did I exist before this body came into being or not? We saw as a subtle body, 21 items we carry forward from one body to another. That means I have existed before this body. That means I am different from the body. In deep sleep, I exist without this body. Without meaning I am not aware, but still aham is there. So I am different from the body. I am different from the 5 pranas also. Experience of prana, I am witnessing or not. Hunger, thirst, vomiting, sweating, all those I am witnessing it. These are the responses, reactions happening in the body because of the presence of prana. So Madhya pranaha, Madhyam manaha, my own emotions I can see when I get emotional, when I get very impulsive, when I get angry, when I am peaceful, all that I can see. Madhya buddhi, all the thoughts, ideals, values, goals, all I can see. And Madhyam ajnanam, ignorance also I am aware of, that I don't know. Both, I don't know the objective certain things and I don't know the subject also. So I am aware of what I don't know. That means I am different from that ignorance. Svenaiva jnayate. It is known by us, each one of us. Why? Madhyatvena jnatam. Because it is belonging to me, it is not me. I am different from it. Just like the example given is Kataka Kundala Grahadikam. These bangles, the earrings and the house, are we one with them or are we separate from them? Separate. Kataka Kundala Grahadikam Swasmat Bhinnam. In the same way, Tatha Pancha Koshadikam Swasmat Bhinnam. These 5 koshas also are different from this I. Madhyatvena jnatam. Why? Because we know them as belonging to us and we don't think that I am this. We should not think that I am this. These are 5 koshas. Hence, Atma na bhavati. Madhyatvena jnatam, hence Atma na bhavati. So they are not the true I. See, the whole essence of spiritual knowledge is the understanding of this I, aham. Who is this I? That's why Ramana Maharshi was the champion of this who am I inquiry. Because right now this true I has got mixed up with this anatma and then that becomes small I and now I am thinking I am this. Like the waker has forgotten himself to be the waker. Now identifying with one dream character is going through all the ups and downs of the dream character in that imaginary dream. In the same way we are going through all this in this world. Giving so much of importance and going up and down with all the fluctuations of these panchakoshas. So now he says here, no, this is not. 2 logics are given. One is I am different from what I have. Madhyatvena, that is one logic. Because I am aware of each and every kosha, their modifications. As well as the second logic is seer is different from the seen. Drik Drishya Vivek, that is. So this Drik Drishya Vivek means the seer is always different from the seen. Only when the seer is different from the seen can there be connection between seer and the seen. The knower and the known have to be different. Then only knowledge will arise. The knower does not become one with the known. Lucky, no? Suppose I study physics and become law of gravity, then gone. Knower will always remain different from the known. This is observed in the world. But only Advaita is there where knower and known, that difference only dissolves. This state is that which is beyond the three, knower, known, and knowing. Where this knower dissolves, then the known doesn't remain. One realizes pure knowledge. Except this Advaita, everywhere knower and known are going to be separate. So I know what is the state of the BMI. So what are the two logics for Atma and Anatma? One, I am different from what I have. Two, what I know, I am different from that also. And what I see, perceive. As a subject, the subject is different, object is different, and then their connection happens. Now this is logic. What is the application of this? There are so many things that we do with such deep identification with that particular kosha. One should learn to step back. Step back in the sense what? As a role, let that be done. I have to play the role of a son or a daughter or a friend or anything, brother, spouse, any role. But one part of my mind should know this is only a role, I am not this. If body is going through something, I should know this is the destiny of the body, I am not this. So the Sakshi, then who am I? I am the Sakshi. And what is the nature of Sakshi? Sat Chit Anand. Full stop. That is a practical application. If I am able to go through daily life with this Sakshi Bhav, where I create two divisions in my mind. One part is that which is playing the role. Other part is that which is watching. Actually, that division is there right now also. Only the thing is we don't know the second part, the witness parts, and we are not identified with that witness part. Otherwise, it is there even now. This is a beautiful analogy in the Upanishads. Two birds. One bird is sitting, two identical birds. Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vrikshe parishashva jate. They are on the tree. Two birds which are identical. One is perched on the higher branch, one is on the lower branch. Tayostu eka pipalam swaduvati. This bird which is on the lower branch is going on eating various fruits which are on this tree. So it flies, it goes to one place, pecks the fruit, eats a little bit, again flies, comes back, again goes down, goes up. Some fruits are sweet, some fruits are sour. It goes on tasting. What does the upper bird do? It is just quietly observing this. It doesn't do anything. In our personality also, this small I is actually this jiva, this second bird. And the big I is that first one, which is the Sakshi. We just observe, it doesn't do anything. That is our true nature. So there's an exercise given to you. Maybe you want to go home and do it. You can do. It is on page number 5. Make a list of all things you see in the room. You go back to your home. Don't read further. Otherwise you will know the whole exercise. Don't read. Go home and make a list of all the things that you consider your own. Not your own. Make a list of all the things that you see in the room. What will happen after that? I won't tell. Because if I tell, then the whole exercise point is gone. You should not read and don't wait for me. After you do the exercise, read what is written there. Then you will know. It is a nice revelation will happen. So the practical application is detach. That I am different from each kosha. So when I am eating food, one part of the mind should say that this food is being consumed by the pranas, by this body, may this body be healthy. I am the Sakshi of this. I have nothing to do. If the tongue likes some food, wonderful. If the tongue doesn't like it, wonderful. Just observe. If I live like that detached, that space I have to create. Vedanta is about that, stepping back. No other exercises, techniques externally are required. Internally, the identification has to change. Because in Vedanta, the word ego is false identification. Ego means false identification. We use the word ego in the sense of, as a superiority complex. He has so much of ego, as a pride. But if you saw the earlier chapters, the waking state ego is Vishwa. Dream state ego is Tejas. Deep sleep ego is Prajna. Now, why is it ego? It is consciousness which is infinite, got identified with one equipment and assumed a small identity. That false identification is called Tadatmya, or that results in ego, Ahankar. This Jiva, small I. So the Atma, Anatma, Vivek, one is to logically first be clear ki why I am not the five koshas, why I am not the three bodies. And then in the daily life, I should actually detach. If an emotion arises, I should be able to watch, saying ki I am the Sakshi, the emotion is rising, staying, going. If hunger arises, I must be able to watch, saying ki the body is hungry, the pranas want some food, I am the Sakshi. This I am the Sakshi becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Then one remains unaffected by whatever happens to the BMI. Only if I remain unaffected with whatever happens to the BMI and I have a ability to detach from it, can I sit and contemplate. Otherwise the BMI it just controls me completely. There is no, there is no method by which I can turn it inside and steadily contemplate, because it will just create some problem or the other at the body level. Try to sit and meditate, you see how difficult it is. Suddenly it will say, it is very hot. Then it will say it is very cold. Then it will say I am hungry. Some excuse or the other. No, I have to make an important phone call. Something or the other it will keep doing. Because the control on the BMI is not there. Ability to step back from the BMI is not there. Then how will I know my own true self? So this is the process. So Atma and Anatma Vivek has to be done separate from the thoughts. Now we saw how to separate from Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. Vijnanamaya is thoughts of success, failure, thoughts of self-esteem. I am good, I am bad. All the self-judgment, the thoughts I pass about myself, they all are part of Vijnanamaya kosha. At the relative level, please remember, what has to be done has to be done. I'm emphasizing again because many people misunderstand Vedanta. Saying, oh, then if I'm not the body, mind, intellect, what do I have to do with it? Nothing. I will not even take care of it. They stop doing the duty towards the BMI, towards the people. No, that is not required. By not doing my duties, I'm not going to realize the self. I have to take care. As a role, I have to play. Because Vasana exhaustion happens only through that. That we should not forget. But once we are doing that, what is our attitude while doing it? BMI is playing out its destiny. I am the Sakshi. So my self-esteem does not go up and down because I am only the Sakshi. This intellect may think of itself as very great if it achieves something, very low if it doesn't achieve something. That is the buddhi going up and down. And the best part is if I detach, these thoughts also don't get encouragement. So they just come, they go. They die a natural death. So we don't have to do anything. Only I have to step back. That's all. Let it do. See, suppose I have a thought that I did such a great thing and I got so many marks. Suppose you gave whatever, ABC test number 7. You got 95. You got 100 also. You say, see, all 7 tests, 100 out of 100. I think I can take course also. Now that thought comes in the mind. Nothing wrong in that. If you feel so confident. But what is my attitude? The buddhi is creating this thought. What will I do? I watch, saying there is a thought in the buddhi, I am a sakshi. Now, because I'm saying I am a sakshi, I am not encouraging that thought that, I have got so many marks, I feel so great about myself, I am going to take in the class, I don't think anybody has got. None of those egoistic thought I am encouraging. In that way, Vedanta is very simple. Stop identifying, that's all. Bondage will end here and now. Suppose I don't water the plant, what will happen to the plant? It will just die. If we don't water the ego, it will just perish. But the problem is this vasana is continuously feeding it, and I am feeding it in the present moment by identifying with it. If I detach from it, it will just go. Nothing more will be there. When we switch off the power, whatever little power is there in that wire, that much comes to the whatever the equipment is there. After that, finished. Nothing more will come. Over. Between the switching off till this doesn't get power, there will be a little gap because there is some power. If I actually learn to switch off and I say, "Bas, I am not this," as I keep practicing, that existing vasana will get exhausted, new one is not getting created. That's all it is. I come to realize my own true self. So this is called Atma Anatma Vivek. So here in this course material, this analogy is given of the computer. You see on page 7, just as a well-equipped computer does a virus scan on every file imported into it or exported from it, so too we must carefully scan each and every sense, experience and thought with the antivirus program of Atma Anatma Vivek. Beware of the Tadatmya virus. Install today the Atma Anatma Vivek virus scanner. And remember to upgrade it on a regular basis by logging on to the scriptures. That is very important. Because this virus now keeps taking new form and keep coming. We have to be in touch with the scripture to update this antivirus, otherwise gone. Very, very beautiful shloka. Next it is Avichara krito bandhaha vicharena nivartate tasmad jiva paratmano sarvadaiva vicharayet. This first line is beautiful. Avichara krito bandha vicharena nivartate. The bondage caused by lack of proper thinking is removed by proper thinking. This is a very important point because what is the bondage? Bondage is caused by, it is a thought bondage. Is anybody binding us from outside? No. It is a thought bondage which is false identification. Falsely I've identified and changed my identity. Now one important point in Vedanta is this. As my identity is, whatever is my identity, according to that will be my purpose. If my identity is that I am a weak individual, my purpose will be people should love me, care for me, I am a victim of life, people should, give me so much of praise, appreciation. That's my purpose. If I feel my identity is I am a poor person, then my purpose will be I must get more and more wealth. Today my identity is I am Mr. So-and-so, this finite jiva. So what is my purpose? With all my actions, I must get maximum happiness so that I become permanently happy. But this identity only is false. If identity only is false, how much ever I try to fulfill the purpose, I cannot fulfill in this context. Because the finite jiva can never experience infinite happiness. No matter what I do, I will not experience infinite happiness by any amount of karma. That's why the questioning has to happen that is this entity also real? When I inquire into this I, which is what this is, Atma, Anatma, Vivek is actual inquiry into the real I, because what is Anatma today has become Atma. Meaning what is Anatma, Panchakosha, I have become identified with that. So that is called Avichara Krito Bandha. Because lack of proper knowledge, I have falsely identified. Now what is moksha? Right thinking. Vicharena nivartate. Right thinking, if I do and discriminate, I am not this at all. Now you just think about this. This is the nature of bondage and liberation. Lack of right thinking is creating bondage. So right thinking is the solution. Any amount of chanting I do, will I get liberated? Any amount of ritual I do, I will get liberated. Any amount of dhan I will do, I will get liberated. No. And people refuse to think. सोचना है ना स्वामी जी, कुछ करने को बोलो, कर लेंगे. What is to be done, you just tell. Sit and discriminate. More tangible something. How much ever one does, they are all sahakari sadhan. They are meant to purify the mind and they have its own place. But what did Shankaracharya ji say? Kurute Ganga Sagar Gamanam Vrata Paripalanam Athava Danam. You go to Ganga Sagar, you do Tirth Yatra, you do Vrat, you do Dan. Any type of spiritual activities I can do, how much ever, for long period of time. He said, Jnana Vihina Sarva Matena Bhajatina Muktim Janma Shatena. In hundreds of lives, you will not get this mukti. Why? Because the diagnosis only is wrong. So you are not hitting at the cause of the problem. What is the diagnosis? Diagnosis is the identification of the root cause of the problem. That's the diagnosis. What is the diagnosis? Ignorance is the root cause of my problem. And this ignorance has led me to false identification where I am forgetting my true nature and I'm thinking myself as the jiva. Now this is bondage. Wrong notion. Bondage is a wrong notion in my head because of lack of clear knowledge. So the solution, moksha, comes only through knowledge. That's why he says, Jnanena eva tu kaivalyam. Shankaracharya is very powerful line it is. Jnanena eva tu kaivalyam. All the other methods are only for preparing for jnana. And remember, this jnana does not mean intellectual, informative knowledge. Jnana means intuitive understanding that I am Brahman. Not intellectual information, yes, I am Brahman. But the bhavana is still I am Jiva only. That is not the jnana referred to here. This is intuitive knowledge. Apara vidya it is called. Sorry, para vidya it is called. Supreme knowledge. Jnane naivatu kaivalyam. Kaivalya means the state of moksha. So as students of Vedanta, I must know the importance of knowledge. In the Gita, Bhagavan says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitra miha vidyate. There is nothing more purifying and greater than knowledge. Because that is direct means to liberation. What is the implication of this? The amount of time and effort that we give to preparing the mind is one part, so that the mind is ready for knowledge. But after that, one should come to listen, reflect and contemplate on this knowledge. That is the main sadhana, which is what will come ahead as we know. As we study, it will come ahead. But for a Vedantic student, that is important. That everyday steady contemplation on who am I am not the 5 koshas, I am not the 3 bodies, I am not the 3 states of the ego, I am Satchidanand. That has to happen. How will that happen? When I have clarity. For that, listen, reflect, gain the clarity. So, avichara krito bandha vicharena nivartate. Never ever underestimate the power of thinking. We are bound by our own thoughts and we are liberated by our own thoughts. We actually take thoughts for granted. When the personality has more of rajoguna vasanas, then thinking one doesn't want to do. One says सोचने सोचने से क्या होता है, कुछ करना पड़ता है, अब करके दिखाओ अभी. That is working in the world outside, no doubt. In the world outside, what I think, then I have to work hard and get the result. In this case, the identification is false. That has to be removed by clear thinking. And that cannot go only by thinking. When it says vicharana nivartate, what type of vichar it is? So the next line says jiva paratmano, jiva paramatmano, jiva paratmano sarvadeva vicharayet. This discrimination, tasmat jiva paratmana. Discriminate between what is the jiva and what is the paratma. That in me, this is the part which is the BMI, this is the part which is the atma. Know that intellectually and then sit quietly and withdraw the attention. What we learn in the meditation sessions. Withdraw the attention from the world outside to the body, from the body to the breath. Panchakosha model is meant for this actually. To withdraw. That I am not the body, Annamaya Kosha, I am not the Pranamaya, I am not the emotions, I am not the thoughts, I am not even the Anandamaya Kosha. The pleasure enjoyed by the BMI in the waking state, Priya Moda Pramoda, or absence of everything in the deep sleep state. I am none of these. When I withdraw fully, then I will realize that pure consciousness. That is what is the method. There is no other method to realize the self. If somebody says, I will touch you and give you moksha, run away from that fellow. Because he is in delusion and he is exploiting you. Nobody can touch and give moksha. If that was possible, then Bhagavan Krishna should have touched. Why did he give Gita for 3 hours? He should have just touched Arjun. Chalo. Start. No, it is not possible. So, avichara krito bandha. This one line, if we take even in our daily life, I give you the Vedantic interpretation right now. Even simple things in life, if you think about it, most of our sorrows are caused by lack of right thinking. Because there are 3 types of thinking that we do. Either we act without thinking, or there is partial thinking, or there is wrong thinking. Most of the time we act either of these 3. Either no thought is given to it, just impulsively do it. Sometimes people choose careers also like that. They don't think. I have seen people, they toss a coin. Heads आया तो commerce, tail आया तो science. अरे, you have not thought कि am I eligible for it? Do I have temperament for it? What? Just no thinking. Or partial thinking. As of now, science is the best option to take. चलो ले लेते, बाद में देखा जाएगा. अरे बाद में देखा जाएगा. You have to think through properly कि what do you really want to do? Marriage is another example for that. And doesn't think through, either done without thinking or done with partial thinking. Very few people think rightly and do. Or wrong thinking, completely wrong thinking. Alcohol is meant for celebration. Why? Why do you need to drink alcohol? For what joy? Destroying your body slowly, slowly, slowly. But no, social status symbol. Smoking makes me cool. And if creativity comes when we smoke, Every artist is shown smoking, so everybody thinks, oh, creativity. Constipation goes by smoking also. So those who want to get out of constipation, they drink, they smoke. What is this? There are better ways to get out. Why are you spoiling your lungs? Wrong thinking. If we go in a bike fast, zoom, girls will get impressed. What all they show in advertisement, you see, you put some deo perfume, girl will fall for you. What nonsense. If that girl falls for you, then that girl is not worth chasing. Fair and lovely you apply, then the boys will come behind you. What level of thinking that is? Wrong thinking it is. But then their business will not run if they come to Vedanta. So the public also gets carried away with all that. Yeah. How did the Vasana come? No. You tell me, how did the Vasana come? No? In the present moment, with the sense of individuality, when I do any action, I am creating a Vasana. Vasana is not given to me by, supplied by God, saying, "Abhi tumhara Vasana hai." I have created it by my own actions. So, if I have done certain things in the past, there is a particular influence on my mind, that is the Vasana of the past. But present moment, I have Purusharth, no? Which is why this knowledge is required. My Vasana can tell me that, like just now what we spoke, the example. Otherwise, Vasana is telling me, okay, go and drink. But now I have the knowledge, this is not required at all. Scientific knowledge I have, spiritual knowledge I have, higher ideal in my life I have. Then I can resist that. That is called Purushartha. When I resist that and I don't fall for it, that Vasana will manifest as a thought or a desire and it will go away. And whatever I have used at that point in time, that logic, that will become stronger. So that Purushartha is the most important aspect. Vedanta helps us to do our Purushartha. So this avichara krito bandha, lack of right thinking is the problem for anything. Even if you think about it, anger, what is anger? Is it not a wrong thinking? That if I don't get what I want, I should throw a tantrum. It's a wrong pattern of thinking, that's all. Why do I have to get angry? I should know that there is some reasoning behind it, learn to accept life, see how can I improve, put the efforts. But no, nobody taught me this. So now I have got any negativity, if you see actually, it is a wrong thinking only, the product of wrong thinking. What is jealousy? It is again wrong thinking. If somebody is doing great, I am not able to do, either I try to learn from that person and lift up myself, or I learn to admire, saying, wonderful, that person is gifted, fabulous, superb. But if I don't know these two, the right thinking, then I fall for the wrong thinking. Now in jealousy, I am burning and I'm trying to pull the other person down. So any negativity actually is a product. So when this line is, avichara krito bandha vicharena nivartate. Here it applies to clear discrimination between Atma and Anatma. Now comes the next part, which is what is the nature of this Atma? Paramatma actually it is. So the nature of this Paramatma is Sat, Chit and Anand. Now this Sat, Chit and Anand, we should remember one thing about it, is all of us have three natural desires. They are called inborn desires. All of us have desire to be immortal or not. Does anybody want to die? Even if you say, yeah, I think I'm fed up of life, I want to die. That is only you want to drop this body. But do you want to become non-existent? No. One wants to take up some other form. So I want to live. So the desire for immortality is the first basic desire. Nobody wants to die. Permanency, we want or not. Even in this temporary world, what are we seeking? Permanent address, permanent love, permanent house, permanent name, permanent fame. I want permanency. And what level of permanency I want? Even after I die, my name should be there. So how do we try to continue that name? By our actions and achievements, by our progeny, that my children will carry forward my name. I am only my children in this another form. So by karma, by praja, by prosperity, create such a massive amount of prosperity that you will be remembered forever. So I want permanency. It's just that the expression of that permanency is different. I am not recognized that actually my desire is for permanency. I am so running behind permanent health, permanent wealth, permanent relationships, permanent address, permanent prosperity, all that. Actually, I want permanency. Second desire is I want knowledge. Do we want to know or not? The desire to know is there or not? No, Swamiji. I don't want to know God and all that. I didn't say God. Desire to know is there. No? As soon as you get up in the morning, first thing, what do? Take the phone. You want to know who has sent a message. If nobody has sent, you feel, you want to know now what is happening. Today match is there. Sri Lanka, South Africa match. What is happening? I want to know. West Indies got knocked out. What will happen to the Sri Lanka and South Africa? Will they get knocked out? I want to know. Something I want to know. Whether cricket or what is happening in the neighbor's house, I definitely want to know. The desire to know is there or not. Where it is channelized is a different matter. I may not channelize it in this formal academic knowledge or spiritual knowledge, but I want to know. And 3, I want to be happy at all times. And that permanent happiness I want. Every story ends how? Happily ever after. And some stories may end with some tragedy, but that makes us also happy. That's a genre. Tragedy. बहुत बढ़िया tragedy था. देवदास देख के आए हम. क्या tragedy था. That also makes us happy only. So we want happiness at all times. So this is called Naisargik Ichha. The desire which is inborn in every creature, this is there or not? Can this be fulfilled from the world outside? Can anything make me immortal in the world outside? People have tried. Asuras also tried. Every time they do tapasya and try to ask a boon of immortality, and they think and put so many conditions thinking that now they will become immortal. But Bhagavan has a loophole for everything. The trickiest till now, one who has attempted to become immortal is who, you know? Yes. You know it also, very easy. Hiranyakashipu only. How many conditions he put? Neither inside nor outside, nor up nor down, nor by man, nor by animal, not in the morning, not in the evening, not by any arms. So many list of conditions, and Bhagavan satisfied all of them and killed him. So the point is, nothing in the world can make me immortal. Body itself is Jadavastu, and luckily it is perishable and it dies. Otherwise, to look at what will be our condition. We will all become Lilliputs. Because through age, what will happen? The body will become, it will shrink. Gurudev used to say, then we will be put in matchbox and taken. What? 20 generations are in the matchbox. This generation is taking and going. Pathetic life it will be. Immortality cannot be attained from anything outside. Knowledge, the ability to know, I want pure knowledge actually, which I don't know. My nature is pure knowledge. So I want to know here and there things from the world. How much ever I try to know, can I know everything? Cannot know. In one subject also I cannot know everything. Forget all subjects. And happiness, to permanent happiness outside world, not possible. It itself is changing. So now how to get this? The only method to get this is to turn the attention within and to realize that I am already this. Permanent happiness, permanent knowledge, permanent existence, can it be created? If it is created, what will happen? It will get destroyed. So it cannot be created. It already exists. It's there even right now. Only thing is I don't know because my attention is outside. So now this next portion of this chapter is to explain about this Sat Chit Anand. Sat fulfills our basic desire to experience immortality because my nature is immortal. As a body, it is born, it goes through changes, it will die. But can I ever become non-existent? Think about it. That's a very powerful question Shankaracharya ji has asked in his commentary on the Gita also. That a person can never experience their own absence. Can you experience your absence? Try it. Exercise for the week. If you can experience your own absence, you will be the first one to set the Guinness Book of World Records. I experience my own absence. It is just not possible. How can I experience my own absence? Meaning, even if the body is not there, I will remain, which is what we learned through the 3 states. In the waking state alone, I am aware of this body. Dream, am I aware of the body? No. Deep sleep? No. Still I exist or not? Is the feeling of absence there? No. I always feel aham, asmi, I am. What I'm identified with, that can change in every state, but I am doesn't change. So that existence, what is the definition of the existence you see here? Page number 8. Kalatraye api tishtati iti sat. So that which remains in all the 3 periods of time, which is changeless, that is called as Sat. Vishwa, Tejas, Prajna, they go through changes or not? Continuous changes. Please remember, dreamer ego, meaning all the thoughts of identification with the BMI that I go through in the waking state, they continuously change. Dream ego also changes, waker ego also changes, they all change. So if a person knows very clearly, if these are all changing, but what remains common in all the 3 is existence. The dream, waking ego exists, dream ego exists, deep sleep ego also exists. That existence is called as Sat. We only know existence of, but this is pure existence, which will never become non-existence. So, and that which is Sat, which will never become non-existence, is indestructible. See, the example given here is that destruction can happen only when something has parts, because that will decay and get destroyed. But Atma is that which has no parts. It is Akhanda. It cannot get destroyed at all. All the usual means of destruction are what? They are either by burning, or by cutting, or by water. It will become, water will go inside it and it will start decaying, or it will be dried away by the wind. And that's why this Atma is that which is the cause of Maya, from where these 5 elements come. So how will these 5 elements destroy the Atma? It is not possible. The famous sloka of the Gita is Nainam Chindanti Shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapo, nashoshayati maruta. That indestructible, pure consciousness which always remains as it is. Science also tells us that or not? What science tells is at one level below Vedanta actually. Science says matter is indestructible. It will only change form. But Vedanta is saying that existence in that matter, which doesn't change form, that existence is this Sat. Vedanta is saying that. Vedanta is not saying matter is indestructible. Vedanta is saying matter is destructible. Every change which is going through itself is destructible. But that existence in that, that is indestructible. That is Brahman. How do we understand that? Simple example. The seed is, right? Now the seed is taken and planted in the soil. Now that seed will give rise to a sapling. So now the seed was and the sapling is. Now the sapling becomes a plant. Now the sapling was and the plant is. That plant slowly becomes a tree. The plant was, the tree is. Now you cut the branch of the tree. Now the tree was and the wood is. So everywhere what remains common is isness. The form changes, the qualities change, but isness doesn't change. Astitva doesn't change. That will never become non-existent. How is that experienced by us? This is about the object. In our case, it is aham, I. Does the I change? The real I never changes. The I in each heart is the same. Adjectives associated with that are different. Those adjectives belong to what? The BMI, the Panchakosha. They are not belonging to the Atma. So that aham. Now, do we have to go somewhere else to experience this aham? Right now we are experiencing it or not? Immediately, at this moment, it is an immediate experience. That's why when they say, Vedanta re bahut samay lagega, pata nahi milega, nahi milega, realization hoga, nahi hoga. Right now it is. Only thing is my attention is not on that aham, my attention is on the Panchakosha. That is a problem. Which is what Atmanatma Vivek is, to detach from that. Otherwise, it is my experience right now because it is aham. That aham will never get destroyed. So that which is indestructible, which is existing in 3 periods of time, past, present, future, waking, dream, deep sleep, that state is called as Sat. So see that example given also, the second one, the second part of this Sat says what? The bud dies to become the flower dies to become the fruit, and so on. But the self is not subject to any modification. That pure consciousness is this nirvikara. Now this is existence. Now is this existent, inert existence? I am I not aware of that? That awareness is called Chit. So now see what is Chit. Jnana Swarupaha. So this Chit is Jnana Swarupa, is of the nature of knowledge. Now what is the meaning of this nature of knowledge? So first point to understand is this BMI by itself are inert. What is that which lends sentiency to this BMI? Is the presence of consciousness. This bulb, can it give light on its own? What gives light? When that bulb is empowered by electricity, then that bulb gives light. In that same way, when pure consciousness enlivens the BMI, then these are able to function and know. The eyes can know only because the consciousness identifies with the mind and further that identifies with the body. Otherwise, the eye cannot know by itself. Otherwise, dead body can see everything. But it doesn't know. Why? Because the subtle body is gone out of it. And subtle body has the special capability to reflect Chaitanya Swarup. See, gross body by itself cannot reflect Chaitanya Swarup. It will reflect Sat Swarup. But subtle body will reflect Sat and Chit, both. And which is why when Chaitanya Swarup Atma goes away, subtle body, when it goes away from this body, gross body, we don't see responses because the Chaitanya part is not there, but Sat part is still there. I'm saying part, don't think Sat, Chit, Ananda, three parts of Atma, okay? Atma has no parts. It's a limitation of vocabulary. So this Chaitanya Swarup Atma is that which makes the inert also appear as sentient and lends that sentiency to the inert. Pranas by themselves are inert. Thoughts by themselves are inert. What is that which lends sentiency to them is the Atma, is Chaitanya Swarup. So that is one thing to understand. A very, very nice analogy for that is a student was wanting to know this truth. So the student went and asked the teacher, please tell me what is this Atma. So the teacher wanted to explain about this Chaitanya Swarup. So the teacher asked, in what light do you see? So he said, I see in the light of the sun. So the teacher said, okay, in the daytime you see in the light of the sun. In the night time? He said, I see in the light of the moon. If there is Amavasya, then I see in the light of maybe the lamp. Okay, in the dream state, in what light do you see the dream? See, before I came to Vedanta, I had not even thought of any of these. How do we see the dream? Tube light and all may be off. There is no light. Eyes are also closed. And those who have glasses, they have put out the glasses also. Still they are able to see the dream. In what light? So that student said, in the light of the mind, I see the dream. So the teacher said, in what light do you experience the absence of everything in deep sleep? Mind also is not there. Then that student realized, oh, there is something else which is the illuminating factor of all these. So that is pure consciousness. That Chaitanya Swarup Atma, because of which the presence of everything is known as well as the absence of everything is known, that is the Chaitanya Swarup Atma, which is distinct from all the knowledge that the mind gets. Mind knows the presence of things, the mind knows the absence of things. Mind knows what it knows, the mind knows what it doesn't know. But what lends the power to this mind is Atma, which remains unaffected by what it knows, what it doesn't know. This distinction is only in the mind. Atma is behind that. So that Chaitanya Swarup Atma, that's why it's called Jnana Swarupa. It is not knowledge of physics, chemistry, biology. That is objective knowledge. This is the principle of knowledge because of which the mind is able to know. And it is because of the presence of this Chaitanya Swarup Atma that there is awareness in all the three states, waking, dream and deep sleep. Because if you remember, otherwise, the law of memory is what? The experiencer and the person who recollects must be the same. Right now, you are listening to me, you are experiencing this, so you can go home and recollect what you heard here. Somebody who is not here or who is not online, can they recollect? Because they were not here only. They didn't experience anything. Now you think about it. Waker ego is different. Dream ego is different. Deep sleep ego is different. There is no common entity in any of these states. Still, how do I remember when I wake up that I did not experience anything? How do I remember certain dreams when I wake up? What is that common factor which is existing in all the three states? That is pure consciousness, which when is identifying with the body, mind, intellect, it is called Vishwa. With the mind, it is called Tejas. And beyond the body, mind, with ignorance and vasana is identified, it is called Prajna. That entity is, that consciousness is common, taking up different entities because of different identifications. That pure consciousness is my true nature. That is called Jnana Swarupaha. And that's why it is, because it is always present, it is called Nitya Jyoti. You see in page 10, it is called as Nitya Jyoti because it's always there in all the three states. And how is it experienced by us? To know the objects of the world, I need equipments, I need mind. But to know myself, do I need mind? Think about it. It's a very important question. To know my true self, do I need a mind? As a sadhana, when I have to do, yes, I require the mind, that's a different matter. To know my existence, do I need mind? Because it's not there in deep sleep, but I still am, no? That's why it is immediate experience. It is beyond any medium of thought. What I can know through thought is only the condition of the equipment, not my true nature. Aham is not dependent on the BMI at all. It is free. In fact, BMI depend on the aham. Electricity, does it require bulb or bulb requires electricity? Bulb requires that electricity. So this aham, I, which is there every single moment, that doesn't require mind also. And that's why this is Jnana Swarupa. Without any medium or instrumentation, it is known. If you go in a dark room, to see something, you have to put a torch, no? But do you have to put the torch on yourself to know that you exist? देख लेते भाई है कि नहीं हम? No, I exist because I am every minute. To know other things, yes, I require a torch and external light and all that. So that, because of which everything else is known, that is Jnana Swarup, that is pure consciousness, that is Chit. Now please remember, Sat itself is Chit and Chit itself is Sat. Don't think there are two parts. Don't say, Swamiji, mera Chit part thoda dull ho raha hai. Sat part ठीक है अभी. आनंद पार्ट तो बहुत ही कम हो गया, इसीलिए मुझे बहुत दुख हो रहा है. These are not three parts. Don't draw a pie chart and say, 69% is Sat, 21% is Chit. इतना सा ही आनंद बचा है अभी. अब इसका percentage बढ़ाना है. No, it is not parts. This is the Swarup. That's why the word comes is Swarup. Jnana Swarup, Sukha Swarup. Swarup means the nature. Guna means quality. See, guna means a thing can exist without the guna, but a thing cannot exist without its own Swarup. Like a flower can have fragrance, color, texture. But can there be a flower without fragrance? Yes or no? Definitely, because fragrance is not the nature of the flower. Can there be a colorless flower? And can there be a flower without any texture? The smooth flower. Yeah, because these are qualities of the flower. These are not the nature of flower. Like fire, the nature of fire is heat or the quality of fire is heat. Nature is heat. Without heat, there cannot be a fire. So this is our nature. This is not a quality. See, quality of the mind comes and goes. But nature of a thing, this is beyond mind. That will never go. That is our true nature. But still we have forgotten it, so this false identification. So this is Jnana Swarup. Swarup means nature. And Sat, if it becomes divorced from Chit, it will become Jada. And Chit, if it becomes divorced from Sat, it will become non-existent. Sattva bhasika chitva vetara sattaya hi chit chittaya yaham. Upadesha Ramana Maharshi said that Satta and Chit are not two different things. Satta and Chit are one only. Only thing is the expression of it in terms of life and responses differs in a living person and a dead person. That's because presence of subtle body, that's all. Like in this bulb, it is giving light because the tungsten filament is working properly. If that filament goes, what do we call that? Bulb has fused. Electricity is still passing through it, but it will not give light because the condition of the subtle body is gone. Now the last is Ananda Swarup. This Atma, which is Sat Swarup, Chit Swarup, is also Ananda Swarup. How do we say Atma is Ananda Swarup? One part is Atma is Ananda Swarup because what do I love the most? In this world, what do I love the most? Myself only. I love everything because it makes me happy. If it stops making me happy, what will I do? I don't want it anymore. Now it's a big source of pain. I love myself the most. We love only what makes us happy and we love ourselves the most. So our nature is happiness. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. It's a very powerful line of the Upanishad. It is. The wife is being told by the husband. Yajnavalkya Rishi is telling his wife that, oh wife, please remember, a wife is not dear to the husband for the sake of the wife. A wife is dear to the husband for the sake of the husband. And same way, vice versa. As long as the wife keeps the husband happy, the husband is very happy with the wife. If the wife starts giving pain, the husband becomes upset. Same way the ulta. As long as the husband gives happiness, the wife is very fine. The husband starts becoming a source of pain. Now, we love anything only because it makes us happy. And we love ourselves the most. So our nature has to be happiness. One. Two, we also saw that in the absence of everything, we are happy or not. In deep sleep, our nature is happiness. In the waking state, yes, we go through different gradations. So we saw Priya, Moda and Pramoda. Those are only levels of pleasure in the external world. But when any object we experience also, when all agitations have stopped, then what happens? The natural bliss, which is our nature, that is what we are experiencing. Just that we don't know. So we think that that bliss came from the object and the enjoyment of the object. It didn't come from there. It is our true nature only. So Ananda Swarup, Sukha Swarupa is that. Does anybody want pain? Nobody wants pain. In fact, we all want to go away from pain and get back to happiness. We will always experience happiness because that is our nature. The moment we go out of happiness, we struggle to come back to it. So pain is not our nature. Even a person who wants pain or wants to commit suicide is doing that for what? To become happy only. Appears contradictory sometimes that people want pain for happiness, but that is a fact that makes them feel good. So all these points are given that how the nature of the self is a pure happiness itself, and there is no distinction between Sat, Chit and Anand.
Please remember, when we say Sukha Swarup, it is not pleasure of the senses. It is not emotional gratification of the mind. It is not intellectual satisfaction of the buddhi. It is not absence as in the state of deep sleep. Deep sleep only as an example to make us aware that without the BMI also I can be happy. When we say Sukha Swarup, it means the permanent happiness, the blissful nature of the Atma. That can be realized only when I sit for contemplation and experience that complete cessation of the ego. In that state, I really experience it. But to come to that state, I must have conviction that happiness is my nature. Today, that conviction only is not there. So what is happening? Pleasure, I run behind. That makes me dependent on objects. Emotional satisfaction, I run behind. That makes me dependent on people. Intellectual satisfaction, I am running behind. That makes me dependent on situations. So I am constantly chasing pleasure, satisfaction, gratification, emotional, and in that becoming bound and more dependent. Vedanta says what we are searching is our true nature. Why are we searching it outside? A quiet mind is a happy mind. The Gandharva's happiness, in second paragraph you see, the Gandharva celestial musician's joy is greater than that of a man. Higher than the Gandharva is the happiness of the Deva. Higher than the joy of Deva is the happiness of Indra. Higher than the happiness of Indra is happiness of Brahaspati. Like that it goes. Each jiva, according to their own equipment and karmas, experiences different gradations of happiness. But the realized master, the Upanishad says that the bliss of Brahmaji is the highest bliss in this creation. And the happiness of this realized person is one drop of the bliss. Happiness of the realized person is like an ocean in which Brahmaji's bliss is one drop. Think about it. What happiness can we experience in this human life is the happiness which is permanent, infinite. If I learn how to tune up my mind and turn within. And what am I running behind? If Brahmaji's bliss is one drop, the joy of ice cream is what? One drop it is in the ocean of bliss. So there are these levels of happiness that Jiva can experience, but the nature of that pure consciousness is infinite bliss. What am I running behind? What am I compromising? You think that's why the Upanishad say that having got a human birth, if a person does not realize the self, great loss. Why? Because instead of realizing that infinite happiness as my nature, I am begging people, please love me, please appreciate me, please do this for me, behave like this with me, then I will feel very happy. And little they change, I'm hurt, I feel very sad. How much the mind goes up and down with that? So that is what they're saying here, that our nature is that pure consciousness and we have forgotten that. Sat, Chit and Anand. Now, if that is my nature, why am I not experiencing it? Only problem is I have not paid attention to it. My attention is right now outside. So example given in the course material is of the sunlight. The Surya is rising in the east. But if I am facing the west, how will I experience that sunrise? I can't experience because I'm facing other direction. What do I need to do? Turn. All the spiritual sadhana is meant for what? Take a U-turn. Right now I'm running outside. Take a U-turn. So that ends this chapter of Sat Chit Anand. There are many points given in the book. I've covered most of them. It ends with this story of the happy man's shirt. So you have to read that story on your own. And I will put on your drive this. There is one episode of Upanishad Ganga on this happy man's shirt that you can watch On the drive, it will be there. So this completes lesson number 8. By this time, we should have been realized. Milestone. Because anatma negated, atma you came to know. So realize. But that's the whole journey. We have to go. This detachment is what has to be done. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari